Come to the floor today to talk about the war in Ukraine. 1 week ago, Vladimir Putin, he attacked Ukraine. He did it by land, by sea, and by air. Now we know that thousands of people are dead. Vladimir Putin prepared for this invasion, and he prepared over the course of at least 3 months. Month after month after month, he moved troops, he moved weapons, and he moved them to the border with Ukraine. Now, many of these troops are attacking the capital city of Kyiv. The Ukrainian people are fighting bravely. Their example is an inspiration to the world. They're outnumbered, they're outgunned, and yet they continue to fight for their freedom. Make no mistake, Vladimir Putin has caused this war. He alone is responsible. He's responsible for the death and the destruction that the world is witnessing now. Yet it is undeniable that the Biden administration's so-called deterrence and diplomacy has failed. Joe Biden ran for president on competence and on his foreign policy expertise. As a candidate for president, Joe Biden said Putin's days of tyranny would be over. He said if he became president, Putin's days of tyranny would be over if Joe Biden were elected president. The opposite has occurred under this administration. Vladimir Putin has become emboldened like never before. Putin is cunning, he is opportunistic, he is aggressive. When he sees an opportunity, he takes it. He can smell weakness. And he views Joe Biden as weak and ineffective. Clearly, that's become even more so after Joe Biden's disgraceful and deadly surrender from Afghanistan. Enemies of us around the world have become emboldened. After Afghanistan fell, Vladimir Putin increased his weapons testing. Just a few months later, Vladimir Putin put 100,000 troops on the border of Ukraine. How did the President of the United States, Joe Biden, respond? Well, he lobbied this body, the Senate, against imposing sanctions on Vladimir Putin. In January, this Senate voted on sanctions for Putin's Nord Stream 2 pipeline. I came to the floor. I argued that the Senate needed to act quickly. Almost every Democrat in this body had previously supported sanctions. Under the pressure from the White House, the Democrats reversed course. They buckled to the demands of the President of the United States, who had a different view than this body, in a broad bipartisan consensus, had previously of sanctioning the Nord Stream 2 pipeline between Russia and Germany. Senate Democrats blocked the sanctions. Look, energy is the reason that Vladimir Putin is flush with cash. He has hit the jackpot. His energy revenues are up, and more than one out of every $3 that Vladimir Putin has in Russia's treasury is energy related. High energy prices today that the Americans are paying at the pump and people around the world are paying are the reason why Putin can indefinitely, how he can afford this invasion. So who's Putin's #1 rival for energy production? Well, it's the United States. But under Joe Biden, American crude oil production is down more than 1 million barrels each and every day from what it was prior to the pandemic. It's not a lack of American energy resources, not a lack of American energy workers. They want to work. The energy is in the ground. This is a direct result of the far left-driven, anti-American energy policies of the Joe Biden administration. On Joe Biden's first day in office, he killed the Keystone XL pipeline, and he bragged about it. So how much energy would be coming across from the Keystone XL pipeline? Well, over 800,000 barrels a day. But that number today is zero. And how much energy do we bring in from Russia each and every day in the United States? Imported from Russia, sending money to Vladimir Putin? Well, 670,000 barrels a day. If he hadn't killed Keystone, we'd be bringing more energy in that way than we're now buying and sending money to Vladimir Putin. And the president bragged about it. Thumped his chest. I killed Keystone. He also blocked new oil and gas leases on public lands, stopped American exploration for energy in the Arctic. Joe Biden approves of Vladimir Putin producing energy. Seems he's only opposed to American energy production. Just days before he surrendered in Afghanistan, Joe Biden sent his national security advisor to beg Russia to produce more oil to sell to us. It's hard to believe. People watching said, that can't be true. And I would say, go to the White House website. Go right now. See if it's still there. It was there 2 nights ago. The National Security Advisor saying we're asking OPEC Plus, and the plus is Russia, it's Putin, to produce more energy to sell to us. Why should we depend upon people who are our enemies, whose intentions are not kind or caring for us, and who is now, Vladimir Putin, attacking its neighbor in a bloodthirsty way, rather than allow us to produce American energy that we have today in the ground in this nation? So it's no wonder that Putin can now afford another assault. Oil hit over $100 a barrel last week, highest in 7 years, and it's even higher than that today. Today, American families in every state are paying $1 a gallon or more for each additional gallon of gas that they put in the tank than they were the day that Joe Biden became president of the United States, and that's soon going to be even a higher number, a higher amount that people are going to be paying as a result of this president's policies. Situation's getting worse. President Biden's response to the buildup to the war in Ukraine has been mismanagement and weakness. After Russia invaded Ukraine, Joe Biden issued sanctions on Russia that is far too little too late. The Biden deterrence was after the fact. Then it seemed more like punishment than deterrence. It reminds me when President Obama said he was going to be leading from behind. Deterrence after the fact is the same thing as no deterrence at all. Try to deter someone from doing something. And even after the invasion has occurred, and even after we see the tanks lined up heading into Kyiv, Joe Biden is not yet ready to sanction Russian energy, and clearly not ready to produce American energy to make up for what we buy from them. His deputy national security advisor went to the podium and said, our sanctions are not designed to cause any disruption to the current flow of energy from Russia to the world. This administration has caused plenty of disruption in the flow of energy from America, from our homeland. They're not going to disrupt energy from Russia. Oh, no. It was actually Germany that stood up and finally stopped Putin from getting the pipeline. Joe Biden won't touch the one industry that's propping up Vladimir Putin. Yet he seems to be happy. Joe Biden seems to be happy with his continued war on American energy. He has effectively put harsher sanctions on American energy workers than he does on Russian energy thugs. Now, war in Ukraine is going to lead to higher energy prices in this country. There's no doubt about it. But we've seen no change in Joe Biden's energy policies, in spite of the abundant energy resources we have in this country. The White House press secretary was asked recently if Joe Biden was considering allowing more energy production here at home in the United States. We have the resources, we have the workers, the jobs are necessary, and effectively she just said no. We heard nothing about it in the State of the Union last night, not a thing. Over the weekend, actually, the President's secretary went on television. She doubled down. She said she refused to rule out importing oil from Iran. Oil and gas leases on federal lands are still in limbo. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the FERC, and they'll be appearing before the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee tomorrow. They recently decided in a partisan, 100% partisan, 3-2 vote to make it even harder to build natural gas pipelines in America. Harder. The day after Russia invaded Ukraine, this administration, the Biden administration, said uranium was no longer a critical mineral for the United States. No longer a critical mineral. American businesses get half of the uranium we use from Russia and its partners. It's a critical mineral, but not according to the Biden administration. Now we're going to become even more dependent on Russia, and Putin will get even wealthier. Seems like Joe Biden and his advisors want to turn our energy sector into what we had seen over the last number of years in Germany, dependent on other countries, begging enemies to help us keep the lights on. And just before the Russian invasion, John Kerry, the President's climate envoy, said in an interview with BBC, this is the former Secretary of State of the United States, said he was concerned that the war in Ukraine would distract people from his climate agenda. You can't believe it. This is very disturbing to people all around my home state, and I would think all around America. This is a delusional obsession, distracted from the reality of the world and of our nation. Innocent people are being slaughtered. Vladimir Putin is conducting nuclear drills. People around the world are terrified. People are looking to the United States for leadership. And we have a high official of this administration concerned it's going to distract from this White House's and this administration's climate agenda. The American people know what we need to do. We need to continue to support and send lethal weapons to our friends in Ukraine. And clearly, we need to produce more American energy. We have it. We have it in the ground. This administration will not let us get it out. More American energy will help us at home. It will help bring down prices at home. More American energy will help us defund Putin's military aggression. It is our energy dollars that are paying for Putin's killing machine. More American energy will help our allies from being held hostage by Vladimir Putin. Now, this is why I've introduced legislation called the Escape Act, energy security cooperation with allied partners in Europe. It expedites the sale of natural gas from America to our NATO allies so they don't have to buy it from Vladimir Putin. I brought it to the floor yesterday, and Democrats objected to a unanimous consent to pass it. Sent a letter to the President today with every Republican on the Senate Energy Committee, as well as with Senator Lummis, sent the letter to the White House today detailing 10 specific actions that the President of the United States can take right now to produce more American energy and undermine Vladimir Putin and help our NATO allies and help the people in Ukraine. We as a nation are much better off selling American energy to our friends than for us as a nation to have to buy energy from our enemies. More American energy means more American strength and more American security. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.